Welcome back, everybody. Nice to see I didn't turn you off at my first chat. So, I've told you a little bit about myself, introduced you to the idea of having nothing to hide. I invited you to think about your own secrets, and I also invited you to question whether these secrets serve you or burden you. This chat is kind of a continuation of the first lesson and will expand on some of those ideas in some important ways. So, having nothing to hide does not mean sharing absolutely everything in every situation. In a nutshell, that's what today's chat is going to be about. What are the limits to having nothing to hide? One of my favourite films is Liar Liar with Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey's character Fletcher is asked, "How's it hanging?" To which he responds sadly, "Short, shriveled and always to the left." Fletcher, due to a spell cast on him by his son's birthday wish, finds it impossible to tell a lie. Unfortunately for Fletcher, there were no caveats to the spell. There were no conditions upon which he could break the spell. Nothing which meant he could behave appropriately in a given situation. That's the crux of this lesson. Behaving appropriately. Being appropriate. That is the most important thing, which reins in having nothing to hide. When your granny asks you, "And what did you get up to yesterday evening?" she doesn't necessarily need to know that you are noob tubing on Fortnite, that you are looking for your favourite models for 2 hours before falling asleep, or that you are trying to perfect a WAP dance for TikTok. I've yet to figure it out myself. Telling her you are playing PlayStation, scrolling through Instagram, or dancing with your friends will suffice. However, next time somebody asks you, "What's the crack?" or "How are you getting on?" don't just reactively say, "Not so bad yourself, and you?" Pause for a moment. Think about how you're feeling. Provide them with an honest response and invite them to do the same for you. That is appropriate. If you're getting on great, that's fine. If you're getting on poorly, that's fine. So I encourage you to have nothing to hide. I also encourage you to be appropriate. I don't strike a perfect balance between the two all the time. However, in my efforts, I'd like to think I've become a better and healthier version of myself. One of my favourite quotes comes from Mahatma Gandhi, a peaceful Indian revolutionary. You might have heard it before. It's, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." Be the change you wish to see in the world. If someone you loved was suffering, would you want them to suffer in silence? Or would you want them to open up to you? My guess is that you would want them to share their burden with you. I also guess that although it might be painful to see someone you love suffering, that you'd be glad they came to you. Glad that they trusted you enough to reveal their vulnerability. Now here, I'm going to provide another invitation to you. When you suffer, provide your loved ones with the privilege of listening to you. Show them the trust you have in them. Be vulnerable. If you don't tell the people around you that you are suffering, it is very likely that they won't know. As frustrating as it might be at times, people don't know the things that they aren't told. Now I would go a step further and say people can't be expected to know the things they aren't told. And that can be frustrating because you might think it's obvious, but you cannot expect it to be obvious to everyone else around you. Imagine your maths teacher told you that they were examining you on algebra for the Christmas exam, but they never said anything about geometry, and they ask you a geometry question. Would that be fair? Of course it won't. You weren't told. Tell your loved ones when you're suffering. By opening up to the people in your life, you're giving them the permission they may have never realised that they have, that they can open up to you. You're being kind to both them and yourself. You're showing them kindness by demonstrating trust in them. And you're showing yourself kindness by valuing your well-being and not devaluing your suffering. Have a think about when having purely nothing to hide mightn't be appropriate. Write down your examples and you can discuss them with the class afterwards. They can be funny or they can be serious. For instance, sometimes having nothing to hide mightn't be appropriate when it comes to other people's secrets. But consider when might it be appropriate to share the secrets of another person. Ultimately, today, you, your class and your teacher will decide what's appropriate. Now, remember my invitation to those of you who are suffering. Consider accepting it this evening. Consider revealing your struggles to somebody you trust. Consider being vulnerable. And remember, you're being kind to both your loved ones and yourself by opening up. Be the change you wish to see in the world. I hope you enjoyed today's chat, and I'm excited to chat with you again next week.